Hi, everybody. I'm Nabil. I'm a fractional CIO here at Dataprize. Today, I want to talk about AI adoption in the workplace, in particular, Microsoft Copilot and how to roll it out safely and securely. If you're like myself and my colleagues, things are moving way too fast with AI. We love AI, but it moves too fast and there's a lot of noise. We're here to help you filter through the noise and do this at your own pace. I'm joined today by Damian Ringgold. He'll set the stage on what Copilot is and how it fits into your current existing Microsoft environment. Then Saurabh Chopra, who'll focus on governance and accidental data leakage. After that, we'll bring in Tad Doyle, who'll walk us through the cost, benefit, and ROI of Copilot. Batting up cleanup, we got Tara Bartles. Tara's the manager of advisory services. She'll cover the practical rollout sequence: readiness, governing, training, and piloting. Today's session is about balancing AI productivity along with governance and security, how to keep AI inside your boundaries, how to avoid shadow tools, and how to make sure that $30 a month per user actually turns into real value. With that, let's jump right in. Damian, introduce yourself and tell us what Copilot is.
Hi, I'm Damian Ringgold, and I've been with Dataprize for 6 years. And to answer your question about Copilot, ChatGPT, and AI in the workplace, let's break that down clearly. What is Microsoft Copilot? Copilot is Microsoft's AI assistant that lives inside your existing workflows. It's embedded directly into the tools your team already uses every day, tools such as Outlook, Teams, Word, Excel, and Edge. It can summarize long email threads in seconds, draft responses, organize notes from meetings, answer questions using your company data, build reports in Excel, or create content in Word. Think of it as a permission-aware, enterprise-grade AI assistant that operates inside your Microsoft environment. What is Copilot or Claude, and are they the same thing? They're different tools, not direct competitors. ChatGPT and Claude are general-purpose AI chatbots. They're powerful, flexible, and great for brainstorming, research, and drafting content. Copilot's a little different. Copilot is enterprise integrated. It's tied to your Microsoft 365 tenant. It respects user permissions. It only accesses data that you already have rights to. If licensed properly, it connects securely to your company data and stays inside your governance framework. ChatGPT and Claude operate in a public or standalone environments unless you've implemented enterprise controls. Now, here's the important part. If your employees don't have Copilot, they will still use AI. The difference is whether they use it inside your security boundaries or outside of them, because AI adoption is not optional anymore. Your employees are already experimenting with AI to save time and work faster. If you don't provide a governed enterprise supported option, they'll paste internal emails, client information, financial data, intellectual property, and such into public AI tools. Not because they're careless, but because they're trying to be productive. Banning AI doesn't stop the usage, it just drives it underground. The safest strategy is to embrace AI on your terms. Provide a secure, permission-aware tool, establish governance, define acceptable use, enable productivity without sacrificing control. If you don't give people Copilot, don't worry. They'll just copy and paste your company secrets in the chat GPT instead. So choose your fight wisely.
Thanks, Damien, for decoding what Copilot is for us. Now that we know what this thing can do, we should probably make sure this thing doesn't fly out with our data. Saurabh, let's hand this over to you and talk about AI governance and how to keep this plane on a secure runway.
Hey folks, my name is Saurabh Chopra. I've been with Dataprize as a fractional CIO for the last decade or so. Gosh, that feels like a long time now. Fun fact, I tried explaining AI to my daughter yesterday, and she asked if the vacuum was going to take over the world, and now we have a robot vacuum with trust issues. When it comes to AI, some of the things that I like to focus on is definitely governance. And what does that mean really in simplistic terms? The rules that apply for any sort of like prevention of accidental data leakage issues, right? Think about it from that perspective. Any sensitive information that you want to make sure is well safeguarded. Without any rules, AI adoption becomes an enterprise risk rather than a competitive advantage for most companies. In real life, safe usage, governance usage, what does that look like? Regardless of what type of AI tool you're using. Well, you got to be able to define some of your eligible users and non-eligible users, and the guardrails that they should basically have established. And what does guardrails mean, right? Guardrails are, hey, I have this sensitive information that's sitting in this bucket right here. Only my human resources people should have access to it and nobody else. So if I go to my AI chatbot, i.e. Copilot, and ask, hey, what is my manager's salary? Nobody should have access to that. That's a big no-no. So we want to make sure that you have some sort of guardrails like that set up, so folks who should have access to information are the only ones that are accessing that information. Hey, shadow IT is a big thing, right? We want to make sure that folks have access to only approved tools, like I just mentioned. Yeah, for within your firm, if your enterprise grade tool is Copilot, then that is what is used and approved for use, and some of the use cases that tie around that too. And then, lastly, I would say, as you're continuing to use, keep one thing in mind: you got to keep human in the loop. Risk exposure for any enterprise is a thing, so you want to make sure that we're continuously monitoring that, continuously weighing that and measuring that, so that if there is any type of additional guardrails that we need to add in terms of, think about multi-factor authentication, think about, you should only be able to access this type of data from a certain location. Then let's establish that, so that we don't let bad actors get access to our information. And further to that, also our AI engine shouldn't have access to the information that it shouldn't be able to respond on. So in essence, think of governance as your seatbelts, right? My daughter keeps telling me that apparently she doesn't need them, but I keep telling her, then why should you test the airbags, right?
Don't want to do that. Thanks, Saurabh. Now, of course, someone's going to ask, what's this going to cost me? So Tad, can you help us math over there? Is $30 real value, or is it an expensive autocomplete?
Hello, I'm Tad Doyle. I'm one of the fractional CIOs here at DataPrize, working on this team for over 10 years, helping our strategic clients with their needs. So in terms of the $30 a month cost per Copilot, is it worth it? Well, you need to think about some simple math to answer that question. $30 a month sounds expensive until you really measure like the output that you get for that spend. So if your average employee is costing you around $50 an hour fully burdened, and Copilot saves just 1 hour a day of their time, then you're looking at over $1,000 a month in value from a $30 a month investment. Even if Copilot is only saving them 15 minutes a day, that ROI is still very meaningful to your operational bottom line. Should everyone get a license for Copilot? Maybe not at first. Think about starting with 5 to 10 of your most highly leveraged roles: your managers, communicators, marketers, analysts, project leads. And then after giving them the license, you would want to track like 30 days of their output. Look at the draft communications they're generating, slide decks, meeting summaries and recaps, and other forms of client communication. And thinking about what is it you're measuring, think about the time saved from not having to go through multiple versions of a document, working with your internal marketing, tech writers, etc., and the communication that will save in terms of drafts being circulated over and over through different departments and stakeholders, and all those revisions that you have to go through. If that process is reduced and you're going through fewer revisions, and the output that's being generated because of the standardization of grammar and syntax is a lot clearer. So $30 a month to save $1,000 of your time. If that math doesn't math for you, check the batteries on your calculator or reboot.
Appreciate that, Tad. So now we know that Copilot can save time and not break the bank. The real question is how do we roll it out without making it the world's most expensive and fanciest coat rack? Tara, can you walk us through how to roll this out in the right order?
I'm Tara Bartels. I'm the manager of advisory services at DataPrize. I've been here for about 10 years, so not as long as you, Nabil, but I'm working on it. But no, these are all great questions and good conversation. It's really tempting to go out and get licenses for the tool you want and to just do it, just try it, just dive in. You have to be so careful, especially when we're talking about AI tools, right? Like this is not the same as just like buying a donut to try it. You're putting information into this thing, and it's not as simple as trying it out, testing it out, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. We can have real failures here that go beyond just like it wasn't worth the cost of the license. Like you can walk into real liability issues. You definitely, like Saurabh was saying, you definitely want to work on governance and have the rules for what you want to do. And as Damien alluded to as well, you got to address it head on. It's going to happen either way. You don't want to have a situation where there's like this shadow environment that you don't know about. So you have to approach those things as well. And the whole time you're balancing it out with risk, right? So you have to do just an honest and open risk assessment. And you got to touch on different things, right? Not just data risks, but departmental risks, some behavior risks, right? Like what are people going to be most likely to do? And that's where you can kind of dive into that mindset of, okay, well, what's the typical staff member going to try to do, right? It's just a thought exercise, but the truth is that it's probably going to happen, and you have to balance that risk. You also have to really look at the risk where you might have some gaps in identity and security, because just turning licenses on and letting everybody loose, all of a sudden you're going to have people that are accessing sensitive data because you didn't actually set up that data correctly to begin with. So everyone's always had access to certain files. They just didn't know it. But now that they're interacting with this chatbot or Copilot, all of a sudden they can see the entire P&L, people's compensation, whatever the case is. So you have to do a little bit of reflection. So there is a correct order that you can go about here, right? Definitely, if you're heading in the direction of licenses, by all means, make that your end goal. This isn't meant to stop you from doing that. These are just the things you want to do along the way to make that successful. Because worst case scenario, yes, there's something bad that happens. But also middle of the road, not a great scenario, is that people just don't find it useful. And you've paid for these licenses, and now you have a failed AI adoption. People say, what was the big deal with this anyway? AI is stupid. It's telling me this, it's doing this. So there's a lot of reasons why you want to implement it correctly. The last thing you want to do is have blown this money, people's goodwill equity saying, we're going to try AI, and it stunk. And then they don't want to try it again. So you don't want to do that. You want to go about the right way. So the correct sequence is, let's call it an AI readiness assessment. Guess what? DataPrize does that. Governance and safe use rules. We can help you with that too. Targeted training. I'm going to say it again. We do that. Pilot your group licensing, and then evaluate how it went and make up a plan to scale. We love doing each of those steps alongside you. We can do it as workshops. We can also do it more as a white glove service. But in any case, those are the steps you want to take, whether or not you do it with us. No problem. But that's what you want to think about. That's what you want to do. So buying Copilot, without training, it's a little bit like buying a Peloton bike and using it as a coat rack. Do you want to do that? It's not the best investment, not the way, probably even the best way to hang your coat. So you want to go about it the right way, make sure you're using it correctly, using it to its full potential, and be aware of the risks of using it the wrong way.
Thanks, Tara. That's all we got for today. If you like this content, please click like below. And if you know somebody that can use this information, please forward this.